We've talked a lot about it, and here it is. Aldon Smith sits down with Willard and Dibs in San Jose last night, and I began not with a question, but by telling Aldon just how great it has been to hear him talk recently about how far he's come and where he currently sits in life.
It's been a real treat to hear you kind of come back. I hope you feel this from the fans. The last handful of days you've made some media appearances, and I just think it's warmed everyone's heart to see where you are right now in your life. That's not a question. I just want to say that to you, man.
Man, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Can you and for those who might be sitting here going, I didn't get to hear anything from Aldon, can you share a little bit about just sort of like the football player we once knew and now the man that's sitting in front of us today?
Man, so everybody got introduced to a 20-year-old version of me, and so you met 20-year-old version Aldon who had a life before you met him, right? I hit the scene, had some success, had hiccups, and you guys everybody witnessed them publicly, and I'll say this. I was blessed to be able to have those experiences. I know that might sound weird, but for me to be where I am today and have a genuine, authentic conversation and not be fluff and be in a good place and want to give and share and use my journey, my good things, my mistakes, and everything I've learned and be able to give that back to people it means the world, because not only do I feel like it's super needed right now to give people hope or just try to give them a route to try to achieve something.
Yep.
And I'm just blessed to be able to want to share it, because this is selfishly, I'm doing this for me, you know what I mean? Because this is it means a lot for me to be able to share what I've gone through, the other side that you might not know anything about. And so I'm excited about it, because not only, it's you get to see under the helmet and you get to know more about me, but you get to see, I'm happy that I have the journey. I've had the journey that everybody's seen bits and pieces of, and now I get to show you a little bit more.
How did you get from where you were? And obviously none of us know the depths of where you were off the field. We just see the career, and it's like, he's not playing anymore and he can't get it together, and we all make our judgments. But how did you get from where you were to the point now where you can look at the entire journey as a blessing?
I didn't give up. And let me say that. Let me rephrase that. I took advantage of that window of opportunity when you fall. Because we all have moments where we fall off track of where we're trying to get to, and you have a decision on either you can keep repeating the same behaviors or you can take a risk and try something new that you're unsure of, but you may have heard it works. And so taking that risk and it paying off is what I'm experiencing now. And it's hard for me to summarize it, because it's been, for me to answer that with I did this, I did that,
Of course.
Unrealistic. But to sum it all up, I prioritized myself and really understood what having an honest relationship with myself, what that means, and everything else is kind of just taking place.
Can I ask when? What's the timeline? When, the way you feel right now, how long have you felt this way?
I want to say 3 years. I don't know if there's necessarily a time, but I'll say after I was done playing ball, and I knew it was over, I went through a really, really tough time, and I was alone. And when you're alone and you don't have anybody, and when I say that by have anybody, there might be people that are reaching out, but if you don't feel like you can have a conversation that you need to have with those people, it's no different than you not having anybody. And so when you're in this space of trying to figure things out, and then I kind of lost where I was going with that, but it wasn't like a burning bush moment. It was kind of like, it happened, and then I just kept taking the good and kept rolling with the good and stopped waiting for the bad. You know what I mean? And so it took some time after I was done playing ball to adjust and try to figure out where I was going. And I think once I realized that I can't blame them, it's all on me. And so finally I get to really put everything I've learned up to this point to use, and see what I got.
Is that partly what leads you back here, back to the 49ers, and the opportunity to help other people and to take your journey and your story and use it as a teaching tool to some of these young men who are now, the 20-year-old version of themselves?
And so the Bay Area is home for me. It's dear to my heart. I had a tremendous experience while I was here, and I feel like this is family. And so I just, took that saying of, if I knew then, what I know now, where I would be. And me having the resume on the field and having the experiences off the field combined with, where I am now and being able to translate that into now's language, you know what I mean? And it's like, why would I not do it? And so I'm just excited that I get to have these conversations and be around people and have a chance at this, because this is what it's about for me.
What does tonight mean to you?
So I don't know if anybody knows, as far as the ALS thing, I had my grandma passed at 64, age 64 from ALS. And my grandma was very special to me. I was close with her. And I didn't know much about it because I think the ALS challenge was kind of going on earlier. Yeah. And just to see how that attacks the body and how you see a loved one, it's something. And so I feel like I have, I'm here. It's all aligning because I'm here for a reason, and I'm excited to be able to be here and hopefully raise, whatever we can and just be a part of something that's bigger than myself.
Beautiful thing, man. We want to let you go enjoy the night. You're a real genuine person. You can tell just by being in your presence, man. And so thank you so much for stopping by. It's wonderful to meet you.
And congratulations on
thank you.
What you're continuing to do and continuing to inspire people. And I know that I was talking to Mark earlier. I am thrilled to have this chance to hear your story.
Right on, man. I appreciate it. Got a lot of stuff coming, so stay tuned.
Beautiful.
Right.
Can't wait to see it. Thank you so much,
Aldon Smith.
How about that at the end? Got a lot of stuff coming.
Yeah.
I wonder what.
Exactly. Hopefully more of what he was putting out yesterday, which is, I got a story to tell and I want to share it. And I know a lot of people who have had addictions and addiction issues, and those people who are able to come out on the other side and share what they've been through and help to educate other people who might be going through similar things. That's the true gift.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game. KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey sports station, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. There's a lot in there that hit me. I'll tell you the sentence or the couple of sentences that hit me the most, and I really I want everyone to hear this because I think so many of us will relate to it, where he said that when he retired, when he knew it was over, and that was actually just practice squad 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He gets cut off of the Seahawks, and he knew it was over. And he said he went through a really, really dark time, and he said he felt completely alone. And I think when people say that, we tend to think about it in this like actual terms, like, oh, he doesn't have any people around him. And he's like, no. Even if you have people that might be reaching out to you, but you don't feel like you can say what needs to be said to those people, or they're not saying the right thing that really connects with you. Not their fault. Nobody knows what everyone else is going through. But when there isn't that thing, like when that person's not saying the right thing, or if that's not the right person to talk to, and you get to that spot where you feel like there isn't anyone, like I've got this stuff going on inside, and I don't know who the person is or where the safe place is to put it, brother, that's really, really hard. It's really hard. And I've been there. I've seen other people there. Aldon, I thought, did a great job of explaining he was there and what that feels like. And that is really tough. And it's impressive to get through that, number one. But I think also the reason Aldon wants to sit down and talk to people now is because everybody sort of needs to know that whoever that person is, they're out there. And sometimes you got to even force it. I don't know. Go call a therapist blind.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I think was his suggestion. Like, keep knocking on doors and trying people until you find the right one.
Because ultimately, there is a way out of virtually everything you're going through. And sometimes it doesn't feel like there is. And, I've unfortunately known people, and I'm sure you have as well, who have gone the other route and they've given up on it. And you feel like, as somebody close to it, like, man, what could I have done differently to help this person? And I didn't know Aldon Smith very well. I had talked to him a couple of times over the years. And, when he was drafted, I actually was doing live TV on Comcast Sportsnet. I was doing a show called Chronicle Live, and we were running through draft picks. And somebody in my ear said they took Aldon Smith out of Missouri. And it's like, I've never heard of him, And next thing you know, 10 minutes later, he's on the show and you interview him. You get your one question or whatever. And it's like, cool, Aldon Smith. And then you see the career go the way it goes. And you're like, this guy wasting his talent. And he had everything. Gifted body, great career, millions of dollars, all this, blah, blah, blah. And I told him as much yesterday off the air, how I feel bad, and it's something that I need to work on in myself, jumping to the assumption that because certain athletes have X, Y, and Z, money, fame, girlfriend, boat, whatever, that automatically that equates to their happiness is at a certain level,
Totally. Why? One thing's really important with Aldon, and I think it's why the fan base is so touched to see him doing well now. Very important distinction. When people are struggling, who do they hurt? Do they hurt the people around them, or are they hurting mainly themselves? The one thing I always noticed with Aldon Smith, it was all self-destruction.
Right.
But you could see, if you just listened to him talk, if you just had any interaction with him whatsoever, you could tell, you're like, dude, I think there's a good person in there. It's not like he's just angry and being awful to those people around him. I'm not going to act like I know these people, but do you remember the name Josh Gordon, the wide receiver?
Yeah, of course.
Really, really talented. I sort of feel like that's Aldon Smith all over again, a few years later. Josh Gordon, who's out of the league again, and I have no idea what's going on with him now, but like all of his demons, it's all sort of like self-destruction, self-loathing, whatever it is. You don't see him lashing out at others, putting other people in harm's way. And I do think that, first of all, everybody deserves compassion, but I think it's sort of a different experience. And I've always rooted for Aldon Smith because even when he was struggling, I never looked at him and went, oh my gosh, this is right. This is somebody who's just doing awful stuff to other people.
Right. Not a bad guy.
No.
And you have some athletes where, they're committing crimes or violent acts. And it's like, man, that's not good. That's a bad guy when you're doing certain things, like you said, to other people. And Aldon was just obviously it was difficulty with, his mental health, and it was substance abuse. And you remember not one, not two, but 3 DUIs, and one involving marijuana, one vehicular accident, and all the rest of it. And he basically drank himself out of the league, and then he was able to come back for a quick cup of coffee. He actually had a pretty good year with Dallas. And it looked like the career was going to get jump-started, and he went to Seattle, and it didn't work out. And at that point, he figured out that it was time to try something else.
He probably needed to not be a football player.
Exactly.
And I'm glad he was. I don't know, because he's been through a hell of a lot. We didn't ask him this question. I hope he's still got some resources that are still available. You know what I mean? He made almost $20 million in his career, at least. I hope that that's still there. He had a beautiful suit on last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know that he was actually receiving through the years any funds from the Golden Heart Fund. I don't know that. We didn't ask. It doesn't really matter. I hope that those resources are still there for Aldon. But yeah, he probably needed to not be a football player anymore, because, and this is one thing, and you and I, we've had this conversation. Like, I know that when we look at these athletes, it's very hard to find any sort of like sympathy or compassion or whatever, because they're living this dream life. They're celebrities. They get to travel. They get to play sports. They get to make so much, just gobs and gobs of money. It feels ridiculous sometimes, and we all get jealous and envious and all those things. But it's also a crazy fishbowl in which they live, number one. And number two, football is like, dude, you're crushing yourself every week.
Right.
And that leads to so many different things. And so that attention, that difficulty, that process is very, very hard. So says all the people who do it.
Right.
And he probably needed to not do that anymore for him to get healthy.
Exactly. And I wonder how much, his time in jail, how much time he had to serve and how that changed his perspective. Because I'm just looking at some articles connected to the Aldon Smith story, and he was sentenced to a 12-month sentence behind bars for his third DUI. And that sentence came down about 13 months ago. So, and this probably wasn't the appropriate time to ask him about the incarceration and how much time he spent. But, I know that from previous people who were addicted to alcohol, their time behind bars turned out to be a springboard toward health and wealth.
Okay.